There are grave fears the death toll from Cyclone Mocha will climb significantly as the recovery effort intensifies. The storm slammed into Bangladesh and Myanmar on Sunday, one of the strongest systems to hit the region in more than a decade. Tens of thousands of vulnerable and displaced people were in its path. And while a cleanup effort is underway, the extent of the carnage is still unfolding. In Bangladesh, tens of thousands of people evacuated before the storm are returning to their homes, many of them now destroyed. The storm also forced the closure of 2 floating liquefied natural gas terminals, forcing harsh power cuts for millions of residents. In Myanmar's Rakhine state, the death toll has risen to 41, but many are still missing. The cyclone churned up villages and knocked out communications. Many in this area, home to a large population of Rohingya Muslims, are yet to receive any aid. Yesterday, Army leader Min Aung Hlaing visited the port town of Sittwe, where streets were inundated by tidal surges. Some relief supplies are getting through, though, but communications blackouts are common. And for more, let's head to CNA's Leong Waikit. Waikit, the military having difficulties reaching certain areas devastated by the cyclone. How has progress been in getting aid to those who are affected?
Well, in short, Wesu, the progress is slow, and perhaps understandably so, because right now nobody has an idea of the full impact of Cyclone Mocha. And without this overview, it's going to be a lot more tricky for the authorities to deploy resources or to coordinate help efforts. And this is so because Cyclone Mocha had destroyed parts of the infrastructure in Rakhine State. So roads, bridges are destroyed. So it makes it very hard for people on the ground to get access to certain areas to give a full assessment of the devastation. The cyclone had also destroyed some telecoms towers, so internet connectivity was also an issue. Now, having said all that, all hands are on deck. We've seen earlier footage of the Myanmar Army. Min Aung Hlaing, the army chief, was in Sittwe, where he promised to help people recover from the cyclone. We also know that about 100 trucks being deployed from Yangon, driving all the way to Rakhine State, carrying medical supplies, relief supplies, and personnel to help with relief efforts in Rakhine State. And even though commercial flights aren't in place yet, there are flights flying into Sittwe carrying personnel to be deployed readily in parts of Rakhine State. Now, the Arakan army, which now has an uneasy truce with the Myanmar army and who also controls certain parts of Rakhine State, have also come up to say that they would appreciate international donors or donations being channeled into Rakhine State. And even the shadow National Unity Government, they've said that they are ready to deploy their People's Defence Force troops or the networks of resistance forces in areas where people need help and where people are affected by Cyclone Mocha.
Of course, you can't see this from where you are, but we can see footage of this aid being transported, being lifted out and being given, I suppose, to those who are in need of this aid. But there are also reports that Rohingya in displacement camps are yet to get any kind of assistance. What are you hearing about that particular situation?
Well, it's a grim picture. I mean, I was staying up late last night talking to people on social media who have submitted videos on social media posts, trying to get in touch with them to get a full picture. And it does seem grim. So you mentioned earlier that the official death toll, or what's on record, is about 40. What I'm hearing anecdotally is that it could be 10 times worse. We are hearing that there could be about 400 Rohingya deaths in Rakhine State. And this comes from people who have survived the cyclone or have friends or family living in IDP camps, and also from local media in Rakhine State. And the estimation comes from the number of camps that have been destroyed by Cyclone Mocha. To give you some context, there are about 200,000 internally displaced people living in Rakhine State in IDP camps. And I've been to several of these IDP camps in Rakhine State, and I must tell you that there is no freedom of movement there. I'm also told that not many people were given the opportunity or had enough time to evacuate out of their IDP camps ahead of Cyclone Mocha's landfall. So some had no choice but to be left behind in those IDP camps. And these houses are not built to withstand disasters or accidents. They're built very close together, so there's always fire hazard. And then, of course, you can imagine that these houses don't have concrete structures, so they cannot withstand something as strong as Cyclone Mocha, which was very severe. So I have seen footage of videos submitted online by people who have videos. These villages are basically flattened. But of course, I'm keeping a close watch on the whole situation, and I'll be keeping and I'll also be tweeting as and when I have information.
All right, we'll certainly be keeping an eye on you as well as your tweets. Leong Wang speaking live to us there from Singapore.